Our retail panel is sponsored by Ammori Equity Partners and CE Gleeson Constructors. Let's meet our moderator, who'll take it from here. Mark Winter is president and founding partner of Identity, a national public relations, marketing, and creative agency based in Birmingham, right across the street, with offices in Tampa and Chicago. He is uniquely qualified to moderate this panel. He and his agency have played a critical role in the development, management, and leasing of more than 500 million square feet of commercial, residential, retail, and mixed-use real estate nationally. The agency's portfolio of more than 80 clients includes some of the most recognizable names in real estate development, design, management, hospitality, and private equity. He is a preeminent PR professional in the state of Michigan. Let's welcome Mark Winter.
Well, I think it's worth giving Mary and the Ford family and everybody who played a role in the train station another round of applause. I can't say enough how proud I am to live in this state and to have that building look as it looks today. I'm sure all of us couldn't be prouder to call ourselves Michiganders. I'm gonna ask a question first. How many of you guys have had an Amazon package arrive at your house this week? Yeah. I've had 8, and I had 2 this morning, and I can tell you they kind of scramble up there and grab them before you see them, but I have a way to see when those packages arrive at the house, probably like you guys do. The good news is that how many of you guys have gotten your hair cut or gone to a salon in the last month? How many of you eat at restaurants? Had a car fixed, had a new tire put on, been to the gym? Service retail is alive and well, and so is other forms of retail. And we have an amazing panel today to talk about not only what's going on in the state of Michigan, but expansion across the country and other locations. I'm going to bring up first Don Barnes III. He's president and the chief tire guy at Belle Tire, where he's led significant growth since joining the company in 2008. Yeah, take chair 1. Chair 1. With over 15 years of experience, his expertise spans operations, finance, sales, marketing, and business development. Under his leadership, Belle Tire has expanded to more than 180 locations across Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, and he's opening 20 stores plus a year right now. Belle Tire is Michigan's largest tire dealer and ranks 9th in the nation. And damn it, Don, damn it, Don, I'm gonna get this. I just can't get that damn Belle Tire out of my brain. It's like ingrained. You guys are amazing at marketing. I can do it better. Belle Tire. Better? You do it better than me. Thanks, Don. Our next one is Saber Ammori, and he is co-CEO of Wireless Vision and founder of Ammori Equity Partners. AEP invests in growth stage companies that focus on best-in-class, four-wall retail companies and opportunities. He has significant experience across a variety of verticals, from wireless retail stores, small box grocery, hair salons, restaurants, and most recently, car washes and fitness centers. He has told me when we prepped today that he loves retail experiences that cannot be duplicated or replaced by Amazon. To put things in perspective, he is the largest T-Mobile partner in the country, operating 450 stores in 30 states. He told me that he literally bleeds T-Mobile magenta, which is probably going to be a problem if you ever need a transfusion. Charles Gleeson III is president and CEO of CE Gleeson Constructors. Where are we? All right.
I'm the second, actually.
Let's get you up here. Charles Gleeson II. All right, so we went from 3 to 2. And Saber's up here, and he's, what, number 1? 3, 2, 1. All right. So he's president and CEO of CE Gleeson Constructors. Headquartered in Troy, the company has additional offices in Austin, Charlotte, and Delray Beach, Florida. Gleeson Constructors specializes in the construction of industrial, commercial, retail, multifamily, and assisted living facilities, and has built more than 40 million square feet of retail space since 1990. The company is celebrating a significant milestone this year as it turns 100 years old. Congratulations to you and your family. Charles was a member of Crane's Detroit Business's class of 2001 for 40 under 40, so I know you've not been around for all 100 years. All right, well, let's dig in. We'll start with retail, real estate, and the climate here in Michigan. We'll next move on to what's going on around the country as all of these operators are expanding rapidly in other markets, and then we'll finish with what you guys are most excited about over the next 12 months. We'll hit finally on a few Q&As if you guys have them from the audience. So Don, we'll start with you. You're the category leader in Michigan with 30% market share in a highly fragmented market. How are you differentiating yourself from both your real estate and your service and operations? And what are your plans for Michigan for future growth?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. In terms of how we think about our real estate is really more so we want to differentiate ourselves not by getting a great deal on a piece of property, but really being at the corner of Main and Main. We know that the location is only going to be as good as the business that sits on top of it. Now I think we're a humble organization, but we also know that we deliver great customer service and get people in and out fast and affordably. So if we can have a great operations while sitting on top of even as great of real estate hard corner, we know I'll say the long-term EBITDA and cash flow that's going to come from that is going to be very sustainable. So we really like high barrier to entry type markets. We like what I'll call expensive pieces of real estate. It's only expensive because of how good it can be, and then we put our operational prowess sitting on top of that and turn it into what hopefully you have all come to love as Belle Tire customers.
Saber, you mentioned that you're actively looking for both acquisitions and ground-up locations in Michigan for your portfolio of brands. Can you share with the audience here a little bit more about your portfolio and vision for your expansion in the state?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. There we go. On, off. Got it. So a few different things. Thanks, Mark. Been a retailer my whole life, grew up in my dad's convenience store business, restaurants, so have truly been an operator since I was in high school. And so at this point, I get to really, I was privileged to operate and be a partner, a great partnership group at Wireless Vision, where we grew to T-Mobile. We grew over 800 T-Mobile locations. We're 450 today. After the Sprint acquisition, there was a consolidation, and so rationalization of real estate. The way we look at it today is we look for opportunities to grow in our car wash business. We bought sort of a distressed asset in Zach's, not Jack's, but Zach's. And we're now going down the approach of remodeling, rebranding, and really new equipment. So we want to be able to compete with the big competitors now in Michigan. And there's some really good car washes now. You guys have seen them. But we just saw this as an opportunity. We acquired 19 pieces of real estate, 19 locations, and so now we're going down the path with a great group of investors and partners of acquiring more real estate, and we'll build more. And also in Michigan, we operate the T-Mobile locations, and really that's become more of acquisitions, really not opening any more T-Mobile stores, and so more focused on car washes, and we're now opening a gym concept in the East Coast, which I'll talk more about. But in Michigan, really focus on the car washes.
Great, thank you. Charles, your company has been active in retail construction in Michigan for now 4 generations. Can you share with us what you're seeing in the market?
Thank you, Mark. Well, I can tell you, we've been a member of International Council of Shopping Centers. For most of you out there in the past, Vegas in May is always an earmark of where you're going to go to see what's happening next. We've seen the fluctuation of the attendees go from anywhere from 50,000, where developers are spending millions on parties and stuff, to where you only have 20,000 that are there. Retail has been very fluctuated, particularly with us. We've built over 167, maybe 175 LA Fitnesses, all about rebranding now, doing club studios and pickleball courts. It's about meeting the needs of the consumers. We then, Walgreens, they used to be battling on corners. Don, they took your corners many years ago with a battle of Rite Aid and Walgreens and spending ridiculous amounts of money. We built 105 of them. Now we're doing a lot of big end users, your BJ's wholesale clubs. We're building Floor and Decors, which are throughout the country on a national basis. Locally here, we're not seeing so much new development. We're seeing more of reconstruction, repurposing certain buildings and such. Although the price tags are still pretty high for the corners, and sometimes ridiculously at that amount, you're then seeing maybe where some of the growth is going. Sure, people are moving into Detroit, and Detroit is populated and such, but you're maybe looking out more towards where the Brighton area and things of those areas, getting out in Lake Orion and Orion Township. That seems to be a lot of big growth, but we're still basically hamstringed by the interest rates for multifamily going out there. Retailers follow the housing. They follow the demographics of that, and with multifamily, there's still some going on out in the suburbs, but the interest rates has hampered that. So,
Charles, this is for you too. You obviously have a grasp on construction costs and all the challenges we're having, not only in Michigan, but around the country. Is there anything specific to this state that the folks in the room need to know when it comes to new construction here?
I would say at this point, construction costs have plateaued. We have seen in the past, when COVID hit, we had a tremendous, I think all of a sudden, a group of lumber people got together and said, hey, let's raise the price of lumber, okay? There wasn't any hurricanes. There wasn't any shortages. All of a sudden, lumber quadrupled. Then the concrete guys said, hey, they're getting it done too. Why not us? And you saw all the rising prices. But then, more importantly now, what you're seeing still is a very hampering effect in the retail industry and any industry is getting transformers. Getting panels, distribution panels. There's still 48 to 52 weeks to get them, and it's ridiculous. You can repurpose them, regenerate them as it might be, but with the new technologies and stuff, it doesn't work. So that's a problem. Lumber's readily available. Steel is readily available. Back during the COVID period, we had a lot of gluttonous steel that was taken through Amazon, as you mentioned earlier about Amazon. They had the market on your joists and girders and things of that nature, and you couldn't get joists and girders. Well, I always told them, suppliers, that one day you'll remember that I've got a longer memory, and when you don't give us these joists, and we're doing 3-4 million square feet, or 5 million square feet a year, when you come crawling back, I won't be here for you. So,
thank you. Don, in our conversation, we were talking a little bit about your growth strategies and how you partnered with REITs to help accelerate your ability for growth. Could you talk a little bit about the creativity and the partnerships you've had there?
Yeah, sure, Mark. So we pretty much self-develop all of our new store builds as we've been able to grow. Like you mentioned, the bar, we've added about 100 stores over the last 9 years, and now are growing at about a 20-store a year clip. Our build schedule is pretty short. It's about 150 days from shovel in the ground. And what we've done is we have, I'll say, a family REIT that goes and owns the real estate, but at the same time, we know that we're able to generate a lot more profit for I'll say the Belle Tire enterprise by being able to create more Belle Tire stores, not just having an opco and being a landlord, but how do we maximize the true cash flow and EBITDA of the whole enterprise. And so what we did is we partnered and went to some REITs and said, hey, we want to kind of create what I'll call a reverse sale leaseback, where they're going to finance really the whole build. We have predetermined scheduled draws with a forward cap rate. and that gets taken out once the build's done. So we're able to really kind of control everything from site location to our general contractors, subs. We're able to kind of use and be able to reward different contractors we have with 4, 5, 6 stores at a time as we're building 20 stores a year. One, to keep, I'll say, everybody honest, as knowing 3 or 4 always going to be building on it, but at the same time be able to, for them to maximize their profitability too by having continuous work for all of their subs. So we went to the REITs and said, hey, we want to be able to kind of do this. We know it's atypical. We came up with this idea and really kind of the end of 2019, not knowing what 2020 was going to unveil for us. But even during while we're in the teeth of COVID, we were able to raise several hundreds of millions of dollars through the REITs with, I'll say, some pretty aggressive cap rates, stuff, sub 5.5 moving forward, and even today, getting stuff little stuff below 7. All because of, again, the performance of the operating company sitting on top, our diligent, not just in how we run our business, but how we go about site selection, really knowing who our audience is, and kind of sticking, with that. It's easy to chase a shiny object, whether it be in new development, whether it be a new product, whatever it may be, because it's shiny and it's new, and we got to stay, we got to go run to that. But really having the discipline to kind of know your build, know your audience, know your customers, know your contractors really well, and develop a very strong process. Not to be rigid in nature, but really to allow for when a shiny object does come in and worthwhile, you can kind of pivot and run to it, but then also kind of get back to track and build out. So, we've used the power of the REITs really as a great financing source, keep everything off balance sheet, and really allow to contribute a lot more positive EBITDA kind of right from the get-go.
To layer on that, Saber, we talked a little bit about the importance of intaking information and having mentors and surrounding yourself with people smarter than you as you move into new markets and you expand into areas that you're not necessarily familiar with. Can you share some of the lessons that you've learned as you've engaged with those folks to help you grow your businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So we sold a portion of our business to private equity 8 years ago, Gage Capital out of Dallas, Texas. They're on their 4th fund, about $1.5 billion fund, and the founder, Drew Johnson, was just a great mentor to me. I learned so much from him and sort of the way private equity thinks, and I think private equity gets a bad rap sometimes. I think you get the right partners, the right people. They're actually excellent partners. But learned so much from him. Really, being an entrepreneur my whole life, so much of the way we did business was sort of feel, right? Like it's the way you feel about something. And really, he taught me so much about taking a step back and data, science, and then really elevating the management team, really investing in the depth of your leadership team. And so things that, as entrepreneurs, you kind of don't think about as much as you probably should. I just learned so much from the way how to elevate your business through a great partnership like Gage.
That's great. Charles, maybe we can pivot now. Everybody sitting up here told me that they are more active in other states from a physical growth of the built space than they are here in Michigan. And maybe you could kick us off, Charles, and talk a little bit about the strategy for your company moving into Charlotte and Austin and now in Florida, and how that's helped you to not only bring those things back here to Michigan, but help grow your company and set the stage for the future.
Sure. We were founded in 1924 by my grandfather some many years ago, and back then your backyard was 30 miles. 30 miles, I mean, if you got a job in Monroe, Michigan, that was like, well, we need to, get a hotel room and spend a night down there. That's how business was back then. As things got further along with us, we started doing retail work on a national basis, and pretty soon that became Chicago and everywhere else. We're in 39 states. Our biggest active markets are Florida, where we have an office in Delray Beach, and I'll talk about that shortly. But we've been down in Texas for a number of years. And in Texas, it's another country. They print their own money. If you want to do business down there, do not use a Michigan address because you will not get work. It's as simple as what it is. When you get down into Florida, it was another thing. Everybody that's been down in Florida has gone through hurricanes and a number of different things. There's a lot of fraud that goes on with subcontractors. A lot of fraud that goes on with a lot of things. So, and you can't get the people to help. There's a lot of work. You just can't find the good labor. We decided to work with a lot of our contractors who we work with nationally out of Michigan, Carpentry, Patriot Group. We had a electrical contractor, Power Solutions. Got together with them, an HVAC contractor in Illinois who we do a lot of work with, and said, I want you to open up an office down here, and we're going to guarantee you this much work together. And that's what we've been able to do. So we have the A team that's working with us down there with these groups, and the market is just unbelievable. There's retail. Before you know it, you got multifamily, you got hotels. You even have, believe it or not, office buildings going up, which is remarkable. But a lot of new, exciting, different concepts and branding that goes on down in the South. Then you've got the people who are being displaced by, you got the New Yorkers, a lot of big bucks. They're escaping the taxes and stuff that went on up in the East Coast. And those states are moving down, and they have been since COVID. Now they've displaced the people. The manager at a bar or the manager at a bank can't afford to live east of I-95. And then there's some of them are tired of the hurricanes, and these people just decide that they're not going to move back to Michigan. They're going to go back to the Carolinas. They're going to move to the Carolinas, and they're only going halfway back. They're called halfbacks. And it's a term used now in real estate of people that are generally just moving back. And so the Carolinas, the Southeast, is just a tremendous amount of work, opportunities, development, and Saber and Don, I'm sure, you know, those are some areas that, you know, I know you've been nationally and all that. We still can't get any of your work, Saber, but nonetheless, there's some great opportunities in the South. And look, Michigan's always going to be my home, but quite frankly, the profit margins in Florida are astronomical compared to contractors here that are fighting over 2.5%. That doesn't turn the lights on.
Don, we talked a little bit about Chicago and rooftops, and we all know for retail, it's rooftops and density, right, that drives sales. Can you share a little bit about your vision for that market and why you are so bully on Chicago?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Extremely bullish on Chicago. You know, being, you know, kind of build on what Mr. Gleeson said about, you know, Michigan. Michigan will always be our home. We've been able to build a great brand and great company here in Michigan with 90 locations. So half of our business, half of our company is out of Michigan. But at the same time, we knew that Michigan's a peninsula, and there's a lot of consolidating going on in our industry. And so our thesis was, can we grow outside of our hometown? Can we grow outside and establish into new markets, kind of replicate the experience, but really more the market share and unit economics outside of Michigan? So the thesis was, let's grow. We did it through Indiana. We have 40 stores now in you know, I'll say throughout Indiana and the greater Indianapolis area, with market share in the high teens. Became the #2 market share tire and service shop in about 6-7 years time. So the second thesis was, can we go into a high barrier to entry market? So another market that's super fragmented, and can we go and establish a brand and do the same thing? So we forayed into Chicago, knowing that Chicago was going to be certainly more challenging than Michigan, Indiana, as well as Northwest Ohio, just with it being Chicago and everything that Chicago is known for. But at the same time, we know that there are 3x as many people living in the greater Chicagoland markets. We know that the competitive set is extremely fragmented, and what I'll call your grandpa's tire stores. So they're old, small, dirty, dungy. They're not really focused on the customer. They're more focused on their business, their profit margins, and when it's a good time for them. So we jumped in with into the deep end, both feet into Chicagoland. Have 38 stores now. Have market share in 2.5 years of just just over 7% and can continue to chip away at it. So again, we really love high barrier to entry markets. We love fragmented markets, but even more so, we just love working with people, because whether we're talking about Michigan, whether we're talking about the Northeast, the Midwest, the Southeast, at the end, business is always done on a hyper-local level, especially retail. And the advancement and more encouragement of people wanting to buy online, I truly believe, is because of the lack of customer service going on in traditional retailers. And so the convenience of buying online is I don't have to go talk to someone who doesn't really care about me, who really isn't interested in my needs, and really doesn't want to qualify or help me solve this problem. So to us, we look at it as a great opportunity because, again, we know people, everyone's just about driving a car. Typically, when a problem happens with your vehicle, whether it be for tires or brakes or any type of mechanical repair, it's not typically planned for. It's a high purchase amount. So it's a good business to be in, but at the same time, it requires a lot of empathy. And if we're able to just really focus on our customer and work our way backwards, and I kind of talk to other people outside the industry, is, we're really the Chick-fil-A of the tire and service space, right? We're full tires, full service, very customer-centric, NPS north of 80, enterprise-wide, and in newly established markets, even north of 85 from an NPS level. So we love retail. We love working with people. We love solving problems because, again, you can be a retailer, you can be a developer, you can be a construction worker, you can be any part of that industry. But at the end, you got to take care of the customer. It all ends at that retail base. So we love doing that. We love servicing the Chicago needs, and we know what a 30% share in Michigan throws off from a economic standpoint. So the simple math is, okay, we got to get to a 10. To be able to equal to, and looking at the competitive market share in Chicagoland, it was, if we can't get to a 10, then we got bigger problems, we got to go home. So after 2.5 years, we got just north of 7%, and are continuing to grow and can continue to open more stores. We have 38 in the greater Chicagoland area with, I'll say, ambitions to get to 70 A locations. Those are the corners of Main and Main. And from there, we'll continue to look at other markets, either contiguous to where our distribution network is, which is really, I'll say, the Midwest, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, as well as look at different markets beyond our current distribution network, whether that be in the Southeast, Northeast, Southwest, or wherever. But we're certainly excited for our growth, but even more so, taking care of all of our customers at a very hyper-local level, because that's where all the magic happens.
So to be the Chick-fil-A of the tire and service business, and I'm looking at you, Saber, we talked a lot about people and how important people and labor are to your business if you're going to perform at that level. And a lot of people make chicken sandwiches, but in order to have an amazing experience, you have to have amazing people, and there has to be consistency and continuity. So as an owner of so many different locations in a service-based business, how are you dealing with both the challenges and the opportunities of the labor?
So for us, it's always been about the culture. Especially it started at Wireless Vision. We over the years, we just got more and more, we started understanding how important it was to treat the employee and to make it such a special place to work. And we knew at that point, as Don mentions, we have to take care of our customers, but really it's our employees that do that. And so we've won, I'll brag for a quick second, is we've won multiple awards for great places, best places to work, and then we've been certified nationally by Fortune magazine as a great place to work. In 2020, we were the 11th best retailer in the country for a great place to work. So for us, thank you. So for us, it's always been about the people. It's interesting, we're at a real estate conference, obviously, but our business, and I think we'll all say, it's about real estate and people. But I will tell you, it's all about the people and the way we can perform. So I would tell you, it starts with our culture, creating a great place to work, making people really feel good about it. And because again, our competition today, the people, the businesses we're competing against, DoorDash, Amazon, they provide way more flexibility than retail can, right? And we're working against, there's a lot of headwinds with that. So if we could continue to make it a great place to work, that's the differentiator.
Yeah, I think the real estate's only as good as the operator that sits on top of it,
absolutely.
Right? So I think the folks in this room, as they're evaluating opportunities and who they're aligning with, looking for the best operators is clearly the path. Charles, as we kind of pivot towards the end here, I'd love to learn a little bit more about what gets you excited in the morning, what's getting you out of bed for the next 12 months for Gleeson.
I'll try to keep this PG. I would say that thank you, Ron. What keeps me going is life. I love life, okay? And I guess I would say that there's a couple of things. Our company is now into our 4th generation. My son Charles Gleeson, number 3, over there, came on board a year ago. I've got 4 kids. I wanted all my kids to go work somewhere else first before they come work for you. You don't want them being born with a silver spoon in their kutaks, so to speak. You want them to know the value of a dollar, where to work, how to make a dollar, and know that someone's got to be the bad guy in the office, and that's me normally. Okay, the guy up at top. Okay, but what keeps me going is the fact that there's new cultures, as you say, Saber. We're about trying to keep and retain our employees, and there's a number of different ways you do that. Sure, everybody wants the next dollar. They want the bigger dollars, but a lot of times it's the work environment. We cleared out our warehouse in the back, and we have a putting and chipping green back there. We have televisions. We do a lot of fun things with our employees, and whenever I go to sporting events or concerts, I like to have the best seats in the house. So we do. We have the best seats in the house for Pine Knob and Detroit Lions, the Lions games, and the Red Wings. So kind of give those little perks to our employees too. You don't really see that a lot with a lot of the other companies. And that's what keeps us going. And what keeps me going is the continuity of excellence and continuing to see that. We're in our 100th year of celebration. We have a black tie event. I hope it's not as hot as it is today. Tomorrow down at the DAC. And my son has put this all together, and we got clients coming from all over the country and locally to help celebrate it. And those are the kind of things that keep you going, and knowing that when I look into the eyes of the employees that I have, and not just the family members, but like my son, for instance, I see the drive. We had a board of directors meeting yesterday, and he just, boom, boom, boom. He had all these little points and stuff that, I like to say I'm 55 again, okay, but I'm not. And so you try to understand what is going on in this young culture and how to adapt to it and deal with it. One thing I'll never lose focus of is working in the office. Is working at home stuff for these young generation. That's for the birds. That's not going to happen with me. I want you in the office. I want you working your butt off, and you get rewarded well. So thank you.
And I think Don wants people getting in their cars.
We love when people get in their cars and drive around, whether it be to the office or home or to the construction site, wherever. We just love when people are driving and using their tires.
They need clean cars too.
Exactly.
They need clean cars.
So Don, what is it that you're most excited about Belle Tire in the next 12 months, or even the foreseeable future?
There's a lot to be excited about. We're a 102-year-old company. We were founded in 1922. But in terms of what we're doing from a growth perspective, again, we have 180 stores. Our vision is to really double our company size in the next 5, to have about 350, 360 stores. It's not going to be easy to do that, and I have no idea how we're going to do that. But the best part is that when we look across our collective teammates, from our HR team to our training team, but even more importantly to all of our teammates in the field, we all have the answer somewhere on how we're going to do that. And so it's really where I get excited about is being able to trying to articulate and really paint a very clear vision of what 5 years looks like, what the finish line looks like, where we're going to go, and really just help moderate these teams in a self-directed way on, okay, well, what do we have to do from an HR standpoint to be able to grow at 40 stores a year? What do we have to do from a training standpoint? What do we have to do in terms of relocation, getting people to want to move to different areas and want to grow grow in their career. You know, there's a 1,000 things that we can get better at each and every day. And what we pride ourselves is waking up and leaning into those 1,000 different things. We know we do, you know, a fairly good job, but at the same time, I can't wait until we get good at what we do and really start taking away at all this. So I get excited about almost like this startup culture, you know, startup company, startup culture, but we have 102 years of experience. We have all of the, you know, financial credibility and even more so consumer credibility in how we go to market and how we service a vehicle. It's just more of how are we able to get in front of our new neighbors, whether it be in Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, the Carolinas, Georgia, wherever, you know, the winds take us, and being able to kind of solve their problems. That's where I get excited, but even more so getting the people to realize their true potential in developing these growth plans and putting them together and executing on them, because it's easy to look to the boss. So what do you want me to do, boss? What do you want? Well, I don't know. What do you think we should do? And really, it's the counterintuitiveness of, in order to really be in power, you got to give up the power and you have to trust the team to do it. Now, we can act as the guardrails and make sure they stay within guardrails, and if they, you know, happen to bump up against, all right, let's knock them back to center, but always be making sure that, you know, can we refine our guardrails? Do we have a culture and we have a process for allowing people to raise their hands? So, you know what, I think I got a better mousetrap. You know, I want to try this. Trusting them, giving them, you know, kind of letting them make that business decision and running with it. And if it works, great. Now we get to share that, you know, better process or better mousetrap across all 180 stores rather than having it just at one or having 180 different unique experiences. So for me, I get pleasure waking up in the morning and helping to kind of coach teams, but helping them realize their best, true, authentic self. And seeing something that maybe they don't see, and even more so, okay, we want to double our size, how we're going to do it, and letting them kind of come up with the solution for it and supporting it.
Saber, you used the word passion, which when you told me when you supported that with the message, I was really surprised. Will you share with everybody what your passion is and what you're most excited about here in the future?
Yeah. So for me, when I think more and more about retail, it's really about the experience. Right? So how do we create that experience that separates us? The other thing that I think gets really interesting, and we've really spent a lot of time on this, is sort of this recurring model revenue, right? The subscription model. To me, when you think about retail, if you can get your customers coming to your locations more often, like a car wash, we're launching Club Pilates in Florida and New York. Customers that will our subscription models, you know, that is something they come to maybe weekly. And hair salons, they're getting their haircut every, you know, 3 weeks or a month, whatever it is. But getting your customers to come in more often, recurring revenue. In the T-Mobile world, it was residuals. So that kind of retail model, to me, gets me excited. It continuously looking at more of sort of that recurring revenue, you know. And the other piece is I get to work, now that I'm getting a little older, I have 5 boys, and I'm starting to work with my sons now. So that's really fun for me. So
one thing that's so consistent is, and you guys have seen this, is the energy with these 3 gentlemen and how excited they are and how engaged they are to get up every morning, get after it. Saber, will you share what you told me is what your goal is to try to accomplish on top of everything else you're currently doing? Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the investor side of sort of what I've been doing the last couple of years of investing in brands and building a management team. But what I told Mark was what I would love to find is another brand that I could fall in love with the way I fell in love with T-Mobile, and I'd love to build a brand to 1,000 locations. And I don't know what that is. I still think I have the energy and the youth to do it, but I would love to find that next brand and something that I would own, a brand that I would control and own and build to 1,000 locations. So.
Thanks for sharing that, because I know there's times where we all feel like there's nothing left in the tank, and this guy seems to have a full tank all the time. So I think it's something we can all learn from. So at this time, is there anybody who has any questions for folks up here?
Should I shout?
Sure.
Awesome. It's actually for Don, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I feel Belle Tire is a fantastic organization, obviously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you guys tend to have a very skinny team in a great way versus quality over quantity. How do you continue that as you grow?
You know, that just is the focus and discipline on, I'll say, our HR process, really our human capital process is, you know, we've always looked at ourselves as an entrepreneurial type of company. And it's how do you develop a team and a process a way that, again, allows people to kind of, give them direction to do, but make it in a way to where it doesn't prohibit thinking, right? You're not developing policy or process that allows it easy for someone to say no to the customer, but really more so allows an entrepreneurial spirit to thrive in different activities, whether it be at the store level, whether it be in our support center. We don't call it our corporate office. Call it our support center because that's just a cost center. There's zero revenue that's generated from it. All of the work's done in our retail field. So it's just really, being able to develop process and things around it, all while knowing that we have to allow that entrepreneurial spirit to thrive, whether in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Florida, Georgia, wherever it may be.
I think we have time for one more in that back corner. Maybe you could stand up so we could hear you.
Core and shell building, 50,000 square feet, no slab, HVAC units, with all the tonnage there, just dropping down, no branches, $135 a square foot. Those are some pretty stable costs from where we're at. They range from 135 to 150, I guess as it might be, but that's pretty much where we're at. Years ago, those costs used to be 90 to 105 bucks. That's where they're at now. And the union non-union thing is, quite frankly, there's not really a whole lot of difference, to be honest with you. Your non-union trades that are successful these days, they're paying their carpenter just as much. They just don't have all the donuts and coffee along with it, to be honest with you. They got the 401ks matching, health care, and everything else. So construction costs there, your build-outs and things of that nature. I mean, love of God, we got build-out costs when we're doing something from a medical standpoint or to just a simple retail, go from anywhere from 50 to $200-300 a square foot. Depends on obviously what it might be, but shell and core costs, I would stick with that as being where you're at. You can skinny it down to $1.25 a square foot, but for the most part, we look at right about there, about 135. It's a 30-year roof, EPDM roof, precast walls or tilt wall, depends on if you're in the south, and then the slab being done by your tenant.
All right, so we can leave this in a positive note. We'll just say retail is alive and well. And I want to thank Charles, I want to thank Saber, and I want to thank Don. Great panel. Appreciate you guys. Let's give them a round of applause.